Some days I wonder if what I do has much value in the world. I'm not a doctor saving lives or a lawyer fighting injustices. I'm just here tinkering around in my studio, talking about myself and singing my songs. But one of the joys of music is that it can carry a message from its creator that becomes so much more meaningful than the sum of its parts. A song can become a potent symbol of resistance, of change, and galvanize people into action. Music and politics have always gone hand in hand. A song can make you take a moment to consider the big issues we're living through. It can mobilize people and turn pain and anger into action. Through their art, a singer can make you see a particular issue with new eyes. Whether it's folk, rap, country, reggae, blues, or punk, protest music can make people stand up and say, enough is enough. When an artist uses song to shine a light on a certain topic, it can produce some of their most powerful, meaningful work. They use their voice and profile to say that this is not who we are, or that we can be better than this. To imagine, as John Lennon said, all the people living life in peace. War, for instance, has inspired many powerful songs, or social injustices, inequality, poverty, hunger, or erosion of our civil liberties. The freedoms we take for granted today weren't always so. In America, singers Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie both used folk music to convey their hopes for a better tomorrow through advocating social and political reform. Peter Seeger, who died in 2014, was an American singer and social activist whose music dealt with topics like workers' rights and nuclear disarmament. Learning to play the banjo from a young age, he became interested in politics after meeting a group of striking dairy farmers, seeing the effectiveness of organized protest in achieving better rights for workers. He began writing increasingly political songs like 1942's Dear Mr. President. This is the reason that I want to fight, not because everything's perfect or everything's right. No, it's just the opposite. I'm fighting because I want a better America and better laws. Seeger's version of the gospel song We Shall Overcome played a vital role in inspiring and giving voice to the civil rights movement and mobilizing its supporters. He was also an early champion of a promising young folk singer named Bob Dylan. His later work focused on environmental issues. On news of his death, Barack Obama praised his legacy, calling him America's tuning fork. Billie Holiday, one of America's greatest jazz and blues singers, channeled her anger into her music when she recorded Strange Fruit in 1939, singing about the lynch mobs who terrorized thousands of black men, women, and children in the South. The song's lyrics were written by Abel Meeropol, based on his poem of the same name. Holiday strongly identified with the song, writing in her autobiography that it reminded her of her father's death. It reminds me of how Pop died, but I have to keep singing it, not only because people ask for it, but because 20 years after Pop died, the things that killed him are still happening in the South. Music can be a powerful tool in social change. It's cultural activism at its most effective. It can make a listener ask themselves, what comes next? If this happens today, then what happens tomorrow? Martin Luther King Jr. said of freedom songs, they are playing a strong and vital role in our struggle. They give the people new courage and a sense of unity. I think they keep alive a faith, a radiant hope in the future, particularly in our most trying hours. Think of a topic like the Vietnam War, a highly divisive and destructive campaign that nearly ripped American society apart. Faced with horrifying images of death and destruction, musicians responded. One of the fastest and most powerful songs written in response to the Vietnam War was Ohio by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Neil Young, one of the greatest songwriters of this or any era, was inspired to write the song after seeing a photograph in Life magazine of Marianne Vecchio kneeling over the body of her fellow Kent State University student Jeffrey Miller, killed while protesting the Vietnam War. It would become one of the most important photos of the 20th century for highlighting the madness of a nation firing upon its own children. The song was recorded and released just weeks later and became an anthem for a generation. Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA, famously often misunderstood as a nationalist anthem, is a critique of the US government's failure to look after its soldiers returning from Vietnam, glorified for political gain but abandoned by the state after years of traumatic fighting. It's a bitter indictment of the Reagan era. Springsteen's one of the great political songwriters, a searing lyricist whose chronicles of American working class life make him the heir to songwriters like Pete Seeger. Springsteen even released an album of Seeger covers, We Shall Overcome, the Seeger Sessions, which won a Grammy Award for Best Traditional Folk Album. Rap music has always been a politically charged medium, from NWA, Public Enemy's Fight the Power, or Tupac's Changes, to more recent anthems like Kendrick Lamar's All Right, or Childish Gambino's This Is America. All Right, which featured on Lamar's 2015 album To Pimp a Butterfly, became the unifying song of the Black Lives Matter movement and is regarded as one of the decade's most important songs by multiple publications. Pitchfork said, an ebulliently simple 5-syllable refrain, a future tense assertion of delivery to a better, more peaceful place. It has soundtracked a movement. Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino's song This Is America, is one of the most talked about songs of the decade, thanks in part to its highly inventive viral video streamed over 856 million times on YouTube at the time of this video. It uses a wide range of inventive symbolism to critique gun violence and mass shootings in America. Over in the UK, punk and reggae musicians snarled against inequality and racism and imagined a brighter, more progressive alternative. The Specials' Ghost Town is a critique of the austerity and inequality of the Thatcher era. Billy Bragg's written a number of political anthems that fuse political anger and protest with folk and punk rock. More recently, post-punk duo Sleaford Mods, who described their work as electronic munt minimalist punk hop rants for the working class, and British rappers like Stormzy and Dave have emerged as the new voice of England's disaffected. Now, I fully understand that when a musician uses their platform to talk about political issues like the Dixie Chicks in 2003 and even Taylor Swift in 2018, the backlash is immense. We're told to stay in our lane, scaring most artists off, and even someone like myself is terrified of upsetting either side of the argument, worrying that I'll lose an already fragile career. But I am so impressed by the bravery and the risk taken by some of these artists to try and make the world a little bit better. Protest music is alive and well in 2022. If you feel strongly about an issue, then picking up your instrument can be a great way to make sense of all the problems going on in our world and get others fired up too. Because, as Stevie Wonder wrote in his song Living for the City, I hope you hear inside my voice of sorrow and that it motivates you to make a better tomorrow. Thank you for watching to the end. If you do like what I do, then please subscribe. It's free and totally helps me out. You can also sign up to my newsletter. Check out the link in the description. And if you'd like to financially support the channel whilst getting access to extra content, then there are my educational music courses, there's my Nebula channel, and my Patreon page. That's how I keep doing what I'm doing. But as always, I'll be seeing you here very, very soon.